All right, it's a big day. We are going to be seed starting today, but first, carrots. We need to feed the babies. Let's go check them out. Hi, are you hungry? Since you've last been here, I did find out what their names were. When we first filmed, I had no idea. And then shortly thereafter, I met the owner of these beautiful animals. And this is Jessie, so everybody meet Jessie. And then the pony is not named Hot Rod, turns out. Pony is actually Sandy. And Donkey is around here somewhere. Turns out the donkey's name is Donk, which I think is incredible. Come here, Sandy. Are you hungry? There we go. Good boy. Bye, babies. All right, Kona, big moment. Let's go grab our seed stuff and get these babies going. So, my main purpose today is to talk to you about how to start your own seeds. If you want to get into gardening from start to finish, then I have so much expertise and knowledge to share with you about doing this from home. Inside this box here, these are Jiffy pods. So I order thousands of these Jiffy pods. This is a case of, I believe, 486 of them. They do come in smaller packages, but yeah, these pods are great because they are all encapsulated in a little netting. And then this is a heat mat, which is very important to warming up the bottom of the tray. This comes in a variety of sizes. You can find it on Amazon or at garden stores. But basically, with seed starting, you want to simulate the conditions of spring. So that's why you have a dome. This guy here will hold the moisture in, and that creates rain in a sense. This is for warming up the soil temperature. So really, we're tricking a dormant seed to come to life by representing spring conditions. You definitely want to sanitize your kit. You can see here that it's pretty dirty. With the move and last grow season, I haven't washed anything. So before we get started, we're gonna give all of this stuff a really good rinse. This mat, this is a coconut fiber wicking mat from Burpee. I just ordered the replacements online, and this helps to wick water up from this bottom tray to the bottom of the pod. So this does not need to be washed because it's brand new, but these things, they were used last year. So I'm just gonna give these a nice rinse in soapy water. And especially the tray, you can see how dirty that is. We definitely wanna clean this up too, just so it's nice and fresh. And if there's any potential disease that's harboring in there, we wanna make sure we're not exposing our new little plant babies to any diseases. So let's get it cleaned up. All right, so everything has been cleaned. Now I want to describe to you kind of the method to my madness. Over the years, I have done so much experimentation with grow kits, and a lot of times you'll walk into Home Depot or garden stores and they already have a kit packaged for you, which is great. But over the years, like I said, I have actually tried out so many and failed so many times, and it's been very discouraging when I was a new gardener to go through experiences and not have my seeds sprout. So I've tweaked my methods over the years, and that's what I'm sharing with you today about why this is a tried and true method if you want to get into seed sprouting in your own home. A couple key things. Number one, the tray. It's so important. If you see this tray here, it's so sturdy. Like I can kind of bend it, but it's really, it's sturdy stuff. When you go into stores and you find these kits, I don't have an example today because I threw them all out with the move, but they're very flimsy, and flimsy is no bueno for especially kits that become pretty heavy. Sometimes garden stores will carry them in stock, but just make sure it's a nice, sturdy 10 by 20 tray. You will need to elevate the pods up with inside the tray. You can technically put a wicking mat straight in this tray with the pod in and we'll expand it. The bottom of the pod might get really saturated though, so it's important to lift up the wicking mat with this. These are inserts. You can order these as well through garden websites or Amazon, and they'll come with the pod like this. I grow about 3,000 plants a year, so I do it separately with a massive box, but they will make these trays that already come with the pods in them. Keep these sheets from year to year because you can definitely reuse them and recycle them just like you saw me wash them. So I'm gonna flip one over for the base of it, and it's going to create a lightweight little tray. That'll be filled with water. The wicking mat, this is gonna hold moisture. Now these I don't recommend using year after year because when they get really wet, if they don't dry out properly, they can start to grow mold. So it's something I always usually start fresh with. So you can see here, I'm just going to fold this under, so when we fill this with water, this side is gonna suck up all the water and pull it to the bottom of the pods. And then we're gonna take this other one, this other clean insert, and we're just gonna lay it on top and start to put the pods in to get our kit set up. These pods, you can see there is an upside and a downside. So the bottom is full netting, whereas the top you can see this little hole. That's where your seed's gonna go in, so make sure this is face up. Okay, so I have my tray set up. So now we are going to put hot water on this. I'm just gonna heat up some water in a hot kettle, pour it on top, and we're gonna expand these babies up to get them ready to put the seeds in. So this is a big moment. I got hot water. I have my tray all ready to go. So now we're gonna bring these babies to life. And we're probably gonna have to boil a few pots of water, but you really wanna start to get them saturated. You can tell if they're done. If you pull them up and you kind of push them, it should be really soft and there should not be any hard spots. Now for this one, see I'm pushing it and there's a hard spot there. See, it's not puffy there, so I need to add more water to this one. I got these handy little chopsticks. I always keep these from takeout just because they work so well in creating the little hole that we're gonna put the seed in. Most seeds need about 1/4 inch down, so I'm just gonna pop in a little hole. Some plants, if they have a big stem on them, we're only going to do 1 seed per pod. Those would be things like peppers and tomatoes. We're not actually sprouting those today. It's a little too early for that. Other things like herbs, if you think about their stems, it's very spindly. Say you're doing basil. Basil can grow in a cluster, or oregano, a lot of little root systems. So if that's the case, I would actually take this and I'd open this up and just kind of scratch the surface, and we would sprinkle a bunch of seeds in there, again for a root system, or stem system rather, that is skinny and not thick. Before we get too excited and start putting seeds in here, since we're sprouting a variety of things, what I always do first is make the label to make sure we know exactly what seeds are in what pod. And that becomes especially important when you start shuffling these around as sprouts pop up and you have to maneuver them to organize them. We have to keep track of what seed is in the pod. So it's time to get the seeds out and start making some labels. My seed organization has exponentially gotten better over the years. I used to have a box with a bunch of seed packets in it. Then I scaled up to a binder with seed packets in it, like something you'd put baseball cards in. And then I had too many binders. Now I've landed on the photo storage kit. You can see everything is labeled. I got a label maker for the first time and it changed my life. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is next level for me. So this is the way that I like to organize my seeds. So you can see each one of these is a little container that you're supposed to put 4x6 photos in. So I label it on the outside, face up, so you can see exactly what you're working with. There's only 3 things today that we're actually gonna be sprouting, things that take a long time to get going. Celery is one of them. It's a little too early for collards, so I'm putting that away. So we can grow fennel, leeks, and onions today. All 3 of these things are actually appropriate as they take a little bit longer to get going. Last but not least, we'll also be sprouting artichoke today. So one thing about artichoke, I have a couple plants that you will know if you watch me long enough that I call the diva plants. She makes the list. Artichoke is a massive diva plant. First off, they're very hard to germinate or to sprout. Last year, I dabbled with maybe a dozen of these seeds. Only about 3 came up. I put 1 in my garden and I put 2 of the other ones in my clients' gardens. And out of the 3 plants that we planted, only 1 of my clients got a successful artichoke. If you are brand new to gardening, I would say this is probably a little advanced, and I like to kind of keep things simple. Make sure you put the date of when you are sprouting these babies on, because you might get 3 weeks in and nothing has popped out of that pod, and you might be like, when did I sprout that? So it's super helpful and super important to put the dates on it. This is taking a while, and if you're a small-time gardener and you're just doing a couple of these trays, not a big deal, you can write these out. For me, when I really start rocking and rolling with my operation, I don't have time to sit down and write, artichoke 50 times or tomato 50 times. So I actually developed a sticker system where I would put a little sticker. The yellow is for the date, so I would just write the date on the yellow sticker, and then the other color would be coded. So for instance, with onions, it would be blue. O1 would mean Spanish white onion. O2 would mean parade bunching onion. O3 would mean etc. Ishikura, the Japanese one, and so on and so forth. So I have yet to really sit down and map all that out for this season. I just launched my order form. So that's on my to-do list next, is to create my coded sticker system. If you are growing probably more than 2 or 3 trays and a lot of different varieties, you can save yourself a lot of time by not writing out the same word over and over and over again, and developing a sticker system for yourself too. We did it. So now we're gonna pop these little labels in the pods, put the seeds in, and we're good to go. Our labels are in, the seeds are here, everything is prepped, and now it's time to actually put the seed in. It's the last major thing we're doing here. So pink celery, or all celery for that matter, look how teeny tiny that is. One of those itty bitty baby seeds will produce a massive celery, a plant that you would get at the store. It starts as that, like a little fleck, a little grain of sand. One really important thing to note is that the smaller the seed, the more to the surface that it needs to be sown. So if you bury this teeny tiny little seed too deep compared to a Rampokanti squash seed that's much bigger, that Rampokanti squash seed can be put down in there about 1 inch or so, and that's beneficial for that seed. But if we put this seed down in 1 inch, it probably won't sprout. It actually needs just like a hint more of light to actually germinate, to pop up and sprout. In my experience, this is one of the exceptions to the rules, where I'm actually going to scatter a few seeds in each of these pods that's labeled celery. They're really easy to tease apart, like before they get too big, so I can maximize the pods and I don't have to do like 1 celery, teeny tiny seed per pod. So anytime I scatter, I'm going to just rough up the surface, like so. So these 3 are my Chinese pinks. So I'm gonna take just like this and do a little sprinkle. And then for these, you just take your finger and you just gently press the seeds down, or you could take the chopstick and kind of like just press them down. And then I kind of bunch it up and smush, smush, smush. You're just compressing the soil a little bit to bury the seeds slightly. And again, these are teeny tiny seeds, so those are sown more to the surface. So now we're moving on to the onions. All the celery's in, and now for onions, I'm actually gonna make about 4 holes for these seeds to pop into. It typically tells you on the back what the depth should be. Onions are about 1/4 inch, a little bit chunkier than a celery seed. So they can go a little deeper. Celery's more of a surface sow, now this will go about 1/4 inch down. And with onions too, their root systems are really singular. There's not a lot of spreading with the root systems. So you can maximize these pods and get 3 to 4 onions per pod. Now we're moving on to artichoke. You can see these seeds are a little bit bigger, so it's okay if they go a little deeper, about 1/2 inch down. Lancelot. This is Lancelot leek. I think it's like a conspiracy theory. That's how they get you to keep buying like all the seeds, because you could be fine and just buy one kind of leek, but no, you want the giant leek and you want the Lancelot leek. I mean, it's just so enticing. You have to try them all. You really don't, but if you're me, you do. Voila, we did it. So the seeds are in the pods. One key thing that is so important about watering your seedlings is that they don't need a lot of water, which is why I really encourage the self-watering system, because you can't go wrong. A lot of times, if you're new to seed sprouting, you'll have this tiny little seed sprout come up and you'll water from the top. Now there's 2 things about that which makes that not ideal. It will create a shallow root system, so that in a self-watering kit, that root has to dig down nice and deep and find the water. So you're gonna have a 3-inch root system because you're not watering it from the top. It will have to find water, so it sources it down to the wicking mat. And then 2, dampening can happen. You can kill your seedling super easy if you are watering it from above, because if you think about like it's like a hair, like a tiny little thread of a root system, it would only need like a spritz of water, and if you're just coming in and dumping water, you'll probably drown your seedlings, which is so sad. So that's why I highly recommend doing the seeds self-watering kit, just to prevent that from happening. It truly is foolproof. Now this dome, this is the final piece to create the spring-like condition that we're trying to mimic. This will lock in the moisture on top here. There are a couple little vents. If you see too much condensation, you can always open those up. But for now, we want to keep them closed just to kind of keep the heat from that hot water. There's a little heat there. We'll put it over the mat. And then this dome kind of locks all that heat in. So it really feels like spring to these seeds. So now it's time to set up shop. We need to get the grow lights. We need to get the shelving system and our heat mat. So my first round of seedlings are gonna live right along this blank wall. There's an outlet right there I can plug my grow light into, and it'll be really accessible. I'm in the kitchen all the time, so I can check on them and keep them nice and happy. Let me go get the grow light. Things get a little crazy when you move, and I rented one of those pods that gets delivered to your driveway, and you fill it up and then you empty it. And these are my domes for my grow lights, and I had to wrap these up so carefully just to make sure nothing got broken in the mix, because this is my moneymaker here. So I accidentally stole the blankets pods. I'm so sorry, that was unintentional. I'm not a thief, I didn't mean to do that. And thank you so much for not charging me. 5-star rating for pods. I haven't seen these for months. I moved in September 30th, and it is February 24th. So they've just been hanging out in my garage for a while. So I'm really excited to unwrap it. Let's just see. Whoops. Sorry. We're gonna hope that this survived the move. So I took the T5 lights out. I'm gonna go grab those as well. But this is the dome that will create the light source for our plants. So I'll be right back. All right, I packaged these babies up so carefully as well in the move. So this is called a T5 fluorescent light bulb. I have dabbled with LEDs. I prefer this, even though LEDs is environmentally friendly. That's awesome. If you can get away with that. I had a few issues with bleaching the leaves using the pink light, the LEDs. So this is my tried and true product. I buy these from Amazon and I love them so very much. So I'll make sure to put this link in the section below if in case you want to mimic exactly what I'm doing. It goes in those 2 slots and then you just turn it until it locks into place. With a shelving system like this, eventually we will need to adjust the height of the light once those seedlings start to pop up, which will require chains. And next time you visit, I'll show you what that looks like. But for now, all we need to do is just set this directly on top of them. The other piece of the puzzle is to mimic spring conditions by creating a heat source, which is this Jumpstart seedling heat mat. Now this is a little bigger than the shelving system, you can see. So they do make these in a nice 12-inch by 20-inch length, and I would recommend getting those. For now, I'm going to use this until I get my ultimate situation set up outside in the garage. Moment of truth. Hopefully these things turn on. Ta-da! We have light! Yay! One really cool thing about this exact product is that you can do half lighting. So there's 2 actual on and off switches here. So let's say you don't need all of the light. If you feel it's a little too bright, you can only do 2, or you can do all 4. So let's get the babies under the light and get them to grow. So for now, this is good. It's a great setup. Once they start to pop up, then the distance between the light and the pod becomes really important. So stay tuned on that. I'm gonna teach you that in our next video. It's not necessarily imperative while the seeds haven't sprouted up, but once they do, it's important that they get a lot of light. And when I mean a lot of light, we're talking 16 hours of sunlight. So I would recommend getting a timer, attaching it to the cord so that you can set it and forget it, and just make sure that they're getting plenty of light, maybe starting it at 6 a.m. and then ending it at 10 p.m. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this seed starting tutorial. I hope I inspired you to take a stab at sprouting your own plant babies, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel below. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down and I will make sure to respond. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.